of Timex Group India Limited. Timex Group is a legendary company with wide interest in watches. Hi Deepak, welcome to Growth Series.
Yeah, thanks, Pankaj, and happy to be on your show.
Uh, Deepak will be having four curiosities, and all these curiosities would be revolving around the industry as well as you as a leader. So I'll start with the first curiosity what we have this morning. Uh, what are the aspects and the prospects of the industry, primarily into the watch segment, and how it is working towards making a sustainable future?
Sure, Pankaj. Maybe I'll take a minute to take you through the Timex Group per se before I answer your question.
Sure.
So Timex is about 169-year-old company. Yeah, it's a US-based MNC which operate in about 100 countries across the globe. In India, we entered pretty early, so we are here for about 35 years, an integrated end-to-end solution. We make in India for India, and rather we export from India to about 17 countries. So it's a company which was almost the first one to enter, uh, even before the other companies, the domestic companies started operating. And we are not just Timex. We are a group, as we call ourselves as a Timex group, which is a combination, of course, our core brand Timex, which happens to be pretty old, one of the pioneer in the watch industry. But we also have licensing business. If you see the screen, you can see all those 10, 12 brands. So we do have licenses for luxury brands like Versace, Ferragamo, and fashion brands like Guess, Nautica, Adidas Original, Ted Baker, Furla, and many others. So it's a pretty large group as such. In India, we have a pretty large setup. We are about 900 people who are working here. We have a large manufacturing plant which I spoke of. That's in
Mhm,
Himalayas, in Himachal Pradesh, wherein we
mhm.
manufacture about 4 million watches a year.
Oh, wonderful.
Uh, so we are here, we are here for pretty long. In fact, so long that people do get confused between Timex and Titan sometimes.
Okay.
So Titan, of course, is our competitor. They were our partners also when we started in India. We had a joint venture with them for about a decade.
Mhm,
Uh, but we were the first one to actually enter, and then we got into joint venture, and that is where Titan was also born.
mhm,
So I just wanted to let you know that of course, there was an association, pretty strong association with Tata, wherein
mhm,
we had a joint venture, but we are a American brand,
mhm,
and the only relationship with Titan was a joint venture when we started. Yeah, so
mhm.
that's largely on where we are, Pankaj. But coming to your question, so this industry is actually very evolving already. From a product which was initially created to just tell time is
Mhm.
now a fashion accessory, which genuinely brings up your fashion and style quotient. And watches have always been a very critical accessory for men. However, there are many new trends from female perspective as well. It used to be largely male dominated. There's so many
Mhm.
brands, I can count on which even today make men's watches, but this is very evolving, and now the percentage of men and women in watch industry is two-third, one-third, from 90% men and 10% women. So
Mhm.
we also jumped in onto the bandwagon. Rather, we were the one who started focusing on women watches. So we
Mhm.
have a collection which is called Freya, which
Mhm.
actually caters to a spatial occasion dressing needs for female, or
Mhm.
watches in general, which has become a critical part of wardrobe for working women now. So such trends create new trading opportunities for category. And then everybody knows about smartwatches. They are another innovation which is redefining the whole watch category and actually creating additional growth opportunity for the whole industry. So I do remember about a decade back, it was 100% analog watches. Now you see that your smartwatches are taking some space and they're
Mhm.
growing pretty fast. So that's innovation which has already happened, and it is commercially hugely successful. So opportunities to get more people in the category, or people owning multiple watches. for different occasions, use cases I can call, are actually enabling the category towards delivering sustainable growth. So if I have to summarize, one is previously it used to be for telling time or watching time or checking time. Now it is a fashion accessory. So when
Mhm,
it gets into fashion, then
mhm.
the indulgence is much higher, and ownership becomes more than one. Then you want to match it with what you are wearing,
True.
clothing or footwear. So a lot of innovation has happened. Smartwatch is the biggest disruption, which is growing the category multifold. So this is what I feel about the industry as such, the prospects, and when you call about sustainable future, I think this industry is going much faster than many other industries. So if I include the smartwatch, Pankaj, along with the analog growth, so CAGR for the next 5 years is expected to be something about 35%. I don't know any other industry growing so fast. Of course, it is largely led by smartwatch. Analog grows at about 12%, smartwatches grows at about 55% CAGR, giving about 30-32% CAGR for the next 5 years.
That's a wonderful growth coming in the watches segment. Just to summarize, you talked about one thing, that Timex and Tata are two different brands, and you also talked about that in this watch industry we are going to see a lot of new things coming up. The growth rate is quite high, and you are serving more than one brands now, not limiting it to only for Timex with your manufacturing unit. Uh, the second curiosity which we have, apart from the growth aspect you talked about and the sustainability you talked about, what are the innovations happening in this particular industry, primarily when we talk about one of the things you talked about, that now watches is a more from the style point of view, more from the accessories point of view, more from the identity point of view, rather than just a segment which is talking and telling about time. How do you see the kind of innovations happening in this particular industry, and what are some of the direct and indirect employment is it going to create as we move towards the growth aspects of this particular industry in the next, let's say half a decade, or a decade?
Sure, Pankaj. So, watch industry actually, as I said, has been behaving like a fashion industry now, and that's the biggest survival tactic for this industry because people don't check time on watch; they check time on mobile. Yeah. So, since it's behaving like a fashion industry, it has to constantly innovate because fashion changes. Now it's a era of fast fashion where fashion doesn't change by season; it changes by month. Yeah, so one of the biggest innovation is that you keep on doing a lot of innovation on your product and keep on keeping it exciting for the consumers because people are looking to differentiate by one watch to another watch because the objective is not to check time, objective is to look fashionable.
Hmm.
So few innovation which have already happened and few are in the pipeline I can share with you. So the engine of the
Hmm.
watch actually is called movement. Yeah, so that movement defines how it works. So largely all this while the movement, larger movement has been quartz movement, and then there are automatics which run on your pulse. The biggest innovation which is happening currently, yeah, of course, Japanese are leading there, is on getting solar powered movements. So, it's a sustainable one. You don't have to change your batteries very soon. And of course, it's a major USP and differentiation between one watch and another. And then the smartwatches I spoke of, that's the biggest innovation which has happened. Now the younger generation doesn't look only for time and the style. They also want some functionalities, whether it's health related, whether it's the fitness. So smartwatch is something which is evolving, in weeks rather than in months. So the new features being added, now you can check your ECG on a smartwatch. Yeah, so you don't need to go to the hospital. So those innovations are happening. Then, a ring watch, if you would have seen. Since, as I said, it's a fashion accessory, so the ring which you wear in your finger has a watch. Yeah, so it is accessories, it's a fashion, it's a jewelry, and it's a watch. Yeah, so that has happened. We have done it, many others have done it. And then, as I said, jewelry watches. So now if you see the bracelet with the women, largely I would say, the bracelets which they wear, you will not even able to identify whether it has a watch in it. So there are, the attachments as we call, they are so fashionable. They look like jewelry, but they have a watch. Yeah, so that's another thing which has happened. And if I remember more innovation, yeah, of course, analog and digital combination. We call it NRDG. So in the same watch you have digital displays, in the same watch you have analog displays. And what I foresee in the near future, wherein you'll have a combination of analog and smartwatch, that's something which nobody could crack it. But once that is cracked, I think will solve the problem. Because I can share with you, Pankaj, there are a lot of people who wear two watches now. I mean, it's heartening to know for a person from the industry that people are wearing two watches at the same time. Of course, they own more watches, but what they do is they wear one smartwatch and they wear one fashion watch or quartz watch. And that combination, once it comes, the smartwatch features in your analog watch will be the biggest disruption and innovation, which I foresee happening very, very soon. So
Mm-hmm.
this is largely on the innovation in the industry, and since it's more like a fashion industry, innovation becomes absolutely critical and important because
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be relevant, you have to innovate constantly. On the employment part, this industry, by virtue of its manufacturing process, is manpower intensive. So
Mm-hmm.
hence it provides a lot of direct employment in manufacturing, and especially for women because it needs a concentrated effort, needs smaller fingers to fix and assemble watches in the hands and the smaller parts. So there's a lot of direct employment, especially for women in manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are ancillaries who manufacture the input materials and the raw materials, adds to huge more manpower and employability. And then on the front end, if I have to talk about, so watch industry largely is still dependent on distribution through mom and pop stores.
Mm-hmm.
And they are in number, the organized one are in about 20,000 of them. And they provide enormous indirect employment opportunities. So this industry, by virtue of its manufacturing processes and the distribution landscape, provides much more employment, especially to the women in the manufacturing side and men on the front end distribution side.
So Deepak, you talked about two, three different things in the innovation. One is about the identity of an individual. Now, what you're talking about is what defines me as a person is watch being a part of things. Now, having said that, what you're talking is that watch is central to the accessory. Now, you might have different accessories, but watch is becoming central to the entire accessories. You might be doing certain combinations around it. And the third thing you talked about, analog plus smart coming together, which is the big innovation coming into into this industry. Having said that, Deepak, can you also talk about what are the other brands do you serve apart from this Timex?
Sure. So our business is, structured in a way wherein we have offering for entire consumer sets.
Mm-hmm.
So we start from our core brands, which is Timex, Helix, and TMX. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a price laddering, so we can cater to all sort of consumers and fulfill their aspiration. On the lower side, it is called TMX, and for the youth, it is called Helix, and then
Mm-hmm.
Timex is our core brand, which is for a bit more evolved, a bit more mature audience. And then, what COVID did was COVID made people indulge. They don't want to wait for, 5, 7 years. They want to indulge in luxury or fashion now because, life became a bit uncertain and people said there's no point spending, there's no point, saving too much when your life is a bit uncertain. So the growth which has come in the luxury segment is unprecedented. I can share with you in the luxury side, on the top of the pyramid, we have Versace. And Versace
Mm-hmm.
is one of the biggest, fashion brand. Our business grew by 3.5 times. So
Mm-hmm.
350% growth in last year over a year before. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
indulgence is happening in luxury. And then the mid segment, which we call fashion, which is higher than Timex, lower than luxury like Versace, largely led by Guess, Nautica, and Adidas Original and Furla. So that segment is growing the fastest because this is genuinely a fashion segment. And since the
Mhm.
category has become fashion oriented rather than timekeeping, that segment is growing fast. So that is how we have a ladder. We start from TMX and then we move to the youth brand called Helix, and then we get into Timex, which is our core brand, and then we move to fashion brands like Guess, Furla, Nautica, Adidas Original, Ted Baker, and all. And then we end it up at the top of the pyramid with Versace and Salvatore Ferragamo. So that's the spread we have.
Deepak, in your entire narrative, what you talked about was there's a Timex in all of us, and Timex being part of everybody's growth story, since you have all the segments spread across, serving the customers with whatever needs possible. I think Timex would be a part of all our growth stories as we see the narrative moving forward here in India. Uh,
Well, absolutely, Pankaj. We are proud to share that we are improving our market share year on year, and through a lot of independent research, the kind of trust people have on Timex as a brand and Timex as a company is huge, and we are happy about it. And we are here to serve the Indian consumer. We have been serving them for 35 years, but we are here to serve them for uh, next so many generations. Yeah.
that's good to hear from you, Deepak. Post all these two curiosities, we'll move on to our rapid fire round. 10 questions to you. You can answer it in one word or a maximum of a sentence. Are you ready, Deepak?
Sure, Pankaj, I'll give my best.
So we'll start with it, and I'll start with the curiosities now. The 10 different questions to you. The first one: what is your favorite childhood memory?
Uh, yeah, I'm from business class family, so when my father would come back from work, and the whole family used to sit together to have dinner, I think that's the thing which I carry because we don't do it now. Life was very easy then, and not much distractions like mobile and other things were there. So I wish I can do it with my kids, which generally doesn't happen with the preoccupation all of us are. So that's the memory which I cherish also, and I remember very clearly. Waiting for dad to come, having food together, talking about random things, no mobiles in hand.
So the second one is, when are you most productive? I mean, which part of the day are you most productive?
So I'm not an early riser, so I can call myself as a night owl or an evening person. So after wrapping the work, when I come home after my dinner and all, and I work a bit, yeah, and that actually helps my team to head start in the morning and make the most out of their work day. So I feel the time, which is generally at about 10:30 to 11:30 in the night, not many distractions. There are no meetings. No team member is just barging into your cabin, and you are setting goals for the team for the next day. And when they get up in the morning, they know what needs to be done. So that 1 hour is, I think, is the most productive for me.
Now, the third one: in which subject were you the best at school?
Yeah, I think undoubtedly it was maths. So numbers and data is my strength. I'm actually good at spotting trends and deducing inferences basis data. I think this is the skill which has always come handy, and the likingness or favoritism for maths has really helped in my professional career. So maths without doubts.
One thing you resemble more, a cat person or a dog person?
Yeah, generally none of them. But if I have to choose between two, I would say a dog person largely, and this largely comes from that dogs, they show a bit more love and needs attention as compared to cats. Yeah, that's what I would say. They're more affectionate. Yeah, so given a choice, of course, dog, not the cat. Yeah.
Now, what's the best compliment you have ever got?
Uh, yeah, if I have to choose one, I would say I do hear very often from people around me, not only my team but otherwise, and they say your passion and energy is infectious and
Hmm.
inspires us to do more and better. So I think this is the compliment which I get very often, and this is a compliment which I love also. So this is the most compliment I have got is this one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's the motto of your life in one sentence?
Uh, yeah, I would say experiment more, fail fast, and keep learning. I think that's what I would say, uh, because it's a VUCA word, and you have to innovate, you have to experiment and fail fast if it doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
but don't stop. Keep learning, keep doing, failing fast, you know, and experimenting and innovating constantly. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't fear failing.
Sorry.
So you don't fear failing. That's the
Oh,
good part.
absolutely, absolutely. If you fear failing, you won't try many things. You'll be thinking too much and doing less. Yeah. So I think in today's competitive world, there's no space for that. You have to experiment, you have to innovate and fail, even if it comes to that. But fail fast. Don't just keep on failing again and again on the same thing. Fail for something else. Try something more. Fail there. Yeah.
What's that one thing you'd like to take with you on a deserted island? One thing.
Not very comfortably saying this, but I think a phone. Yeah. Although I do feel that it's a distraction, but I still also feel this is very very critical to stay connected, to get the information, to communicate. So I think that's important. You feel lost even if your phone you don't find it for a minute, not because of anything else. I think this is one single device which is for communication, information, and keeping in touch. Yeah, so it's important. I would say phone. Yeah.
If you could teleport right now, where would you go?
Yeah, as I was saying, my memories to my hometown. I'm a small town, guy. Moved to Delhi, so I still miss what it was there. The kind of memories which I have. I want to relive them again. So I would say my hometown. Yeah.
Which object do you lose the most? Many times we have an habit of losing something, right?
Yeah, no,
What?
absolutely. I would say I think it is pen. I don't move for any meeting, for any discussion without having a pad and pen. So I do
Mhm.
carry my pad bag, but the pen is where which I lose the maximum. Yeah, so I've stopped investing on pen. So I go with workable pens rather than investing too much and losing pens and buying fancy and the costly ones. Yeah, the pen for sure. I think if I look around, must be the number must be more than 100 pens I would have lost in the last a decade. Yeah.
Your favorite author, I mean, favorite all-time author.
Yeah, I've not been reading lately, Pankaj, but my favorite one remains Kushwant Singh. Yeah.
Hmm.
So for the reason his narrative style of writing, as if he's talking to you, and
True.
the use of humor. I mean, you can't get bored of his books. And I also feel that he did his all his work uh, did justice to represent our culture, but very realistically. Yeah, so I think humor, narrative style, and realistic representation of our culture makes Kushwant Singh as all-time favorite of mine. Yeah.
That's quite comprehensive one. 10 on 10 to you on this rapid fire round. We move on to our next curiosity now, and this curiosity is about you as about you as a leader. Now, would like to understand is that what has shaped your leadership style, and can you talk a little more around the memorable lessons which you might have learned from your, let's say, mentors, colleagues, your ex bosses, or maybe from your family, friends, or teachers, and how this has shaped the entire narrative, a journey of a person starting from scratch to a position, to a leadership position where you are now.
Yeah. So. So Pankaj, I have grown through the ladder. I didn't get dropped at the top. I have found my way from the grassroots. Yeah. So that would not have been possible without multiple great mentors I have come across throughout my career. So actually, they shaped my career. They shaped what I am today. But if I have to really pick one of them, so I would say, yeah, my first manager when I was very young, finding my place, didn't know what I want to do in life. He actually mentored me, and probably I credit him for largely what I am today. Uh, so so I would say, the four, five things I remember, which I practice and which have, shaped my career and made me whatever I am today, successful, unsuccessful. But I feel four, five things were there. So one is, I was always told that if you are a leader, the higher you grow, the bigger servant you become. Yeah. So then you have to serve a lot more people as compared to when you are lower down the ladder. So that got structured in my head, that servant leadership. So now, in any kind of discussion which I have with my team, my customers, stakeholders, I ask them, how can I serve you, and how can I serve you better? And that actually pays off. Believe me, humility is the one thing which it brings along. To servant leadership for sure, and ensuring that I don't demand. First of all, I check what they need from me, and then probably I put my expectation across rather than the other way around, which people do today. So action is important, but you cannot be just demanding without helping and supporting them in what they need to deliver what you're expecting out of them. So that's one thing which is very, very, very deeply engraved in my memory, in my thoughts. Secondly, I would say that comes from my dad. He always used to tell me, you should commit less but deliver more. Yeah. So don't just go ahead and say, I'll do this and I'll do that. Just see what you can realistically do, and that doesn't become your target. You have to beat it. Yeah. So that is always there, wherein you don't talk big numbers, you don't talk about a lot of exciting things. You talk about what realistically is possible, and then over deliver it. And in the professional life, that really helps, because generally we do mistakes of taking huge numbers without having an idea how we're going to achieve those numbers. So when you take the realistic numbers, we are always going to beat them. Yeah. So that's another one which really helps. Practically also helps. You are not committing for higher budgets, but delivering more than that, getting some bonuses in the milli. Yeah. So that's other learning. Then I would say, what I learned was that if you do not dirty your hands, you never know how it is done. Yeah. So you can always learn by reading books, you can always learn by getting work done, but the best thing you will learn is when you do it yourself. You don't have to do every time. So I remember in my when I was studying, I went to hotel management, although I didn't complete it. So the very second day I was told, Pankaj, that you'll have to clean the toilets, you have to serve food, you have to carry two trays in your hand, open the door with your leg, with your foot. Yeah, that's how. And I ran away from there. I said, I thought I'm gonna be a captain and I'm gonna lead a team. So the professor told me, if you don't know how to do it, you can never get it done.
True.
So you need to know how to do it to get it done in a better way. Yeah. So that's another learning which I remember from my hotel management days. And then I also realized that we have to be very quick on giving feedback. You don't have to wait for year-end appraisal or a meeting. I think there has to be a real-time feedback, good or bad. That is how your team or stakeholders have the right expectation and the right deliverables. They're clear about it, rather
Mm.
than giving a feedback in the long run. I think these are four, five things, Pankaj, which really has helped me, and these have come from various different quarters. Some from my dad, some from my institute, some from my mentor. So that's where which has really helped me, succeed in my professional career.
Deepak, the 4 5 things what you have shared, I think these are the narratives which is going to shape the minds of many people who definitely like to become leader at some stage of our life. And the lessons which you talked about have been really remarkable and memorable for you, and I'm sure this is going to be some guiding principles for us as well as we move ahead in our lives. Thank you for some frank answers and your heart and mind talks here at VYAPT Growth Series. Thank you for being a part of VYAPT Growth Series. Thank you, Deepak.
Thanks, Pankaj. It was a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you.